Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. How could he be a disciple of the Zhenghai branch? He feigned a shocked expression before he smiled and said, "Eh? You survived a blow from my separation hook? Who are you?" Zhenghai took a step back and glanced at the valley. "That's not important. You're going to die, anyway." Mingxian sneered as he raised his hand. The separation hook returned to his grasp. In truth, he had been among the disciples of the Zhenghai branch, from the very beginning. He wanted to infiltrate the enemy's ranks and look for an opportunity to deal a critical blow on his enemies. However, he did not expect to witness that unforgettable scene. Before he could continue to admire his master's shocking and grand power, he tailed Zhenghai all the way here. He knew Zhenghai was not a simple character. "Do you think you're old villain G?" Zhenghai said in a disapproving tone. Mingxian only clicked his tongue and said, "It's no wonder you managed to withstand my master's energy swords. Is it something you're wearing?" When Zhenghai heard this, his heart skipped a beat. An evil sky pavilion disciple? Mingxian could not help but flip his hair and said, "All right, I'll drop the act." Zhenghai looked over Mingxian's shoulder. He was worried old villain G would show up. Then, he said, "Comrade, let's talk this over. What do you say to letting me go, and I'll repay your kindness in the future?" "There's no need for the future." "What?" "Remove your clothes, then, allow my separation hook to plunge mercilessly into your heart," Mingxian said with a smile. "You?" Zhenghai scowled. "I've already burned my sea of qi anyway. If you want to die so badly, I'll grant you your wish." He raised his hand and struck his dantian twice, releasing his meridians. Half of his burnt sea of qi resumed burning. At this moment, almost all of the disciples from the 7 great sects on the battlefield near Golden Court Mountain had been cleared by Duanmu Shang and the others. Zhou looked at the time. He had more than 10 minutes left. Everything progressed more or less like he had expected them to. He looked around himself before he finally looked at his disciples and calmly said, "Clean this up." "Yes, master. As you command." "Your awesome might know no bounds. May you live to see." "Master, you actually attained the 9-leaf stage. I dreamt about it the other day." "Eh? Master? Where did master go?" Zhu Hongong was midway through his ramblings when he discovered his master had disappeared. Then, he cried out, "Third senior brother, little junior sister, 5th senior sister, don't ignore me." Everyone busied themselves and had no time to entertain Zhu Hongong. Zhou unleashed a grand technique and reached the top of the evil sky pavilion. He found the eye of the formation and slammed a hand on it, channeling his power into it. The moon was setting. Avatar. Zhou activated his 9-leaf golden lotus avatar and stood above the evil sky pavilion. "What's master doing?" Little Yuan pointed toward the evil sky pavilion. "He's announcing that he's the greatest elite of all time, of course. There's no one greater than him. Master, your 9-leaf stage is too cool. From this day on, you'll be my..." "Ow. Little junior sister, you pinched me again," Zhu Hongong said, cradling his cheek. When Zhou was channeling his primal qi, he looked at the golden lotus under his 100 tribulations insight avatar. He studied it for a moment, puzzled. According to the current cultivation theory, it was difficult for cultivators to break free of the restrictions imposed by the Great Limit. Judging from what happened to Yuan'er Luo, the golden lotus would absorb one's cultivation base and life, and it would take at least 1,000 years off one's tab. By severing the golden lotus, this could be overcome. However, when Zhou used the peak card, he was at the 9-leaf stage. He began recalling the events when he had just transmigrated over. When he used the peak card for the first time, he was only granted the 8-leaf stage. The second time he used it was when he captured Yi Tianqin. There were 9 leaves back then. However, he did not understand much about the Golden Lotus back then and did not dwell on it. This was his 4th time using the peak card. Indeed, it was a 9-leaf Golden Lotus. Item card, Ji Tiandao's Peak Trial card. Note, Ji Tiandao's peak state only lasts for 30 minutes. In other words, Ji Tiandao was already at the 9-leaf stage back then. However, due to his great limit, he dropped back to the 8-leaf stage. After Zhou used the reversal cards, his physical body was once again back at the state where it could support the 9-leaf stage. If Ji Tiandao had attained the 9-leaf stage long ago, how could he be heavily injured by the elites from the 10 great sects during the siege? From this, he could infer that Ji Tiandao had attained the 9-leaf stage after his battle with the elites of the 10 great sects and before Zhou transmigrated over. After a moment, a huge question popped up in Zhou's mind. Where did Ji Tiandao obtain 1,000 years of life needed to attain the 9-leaf stage? Whiz. Boom. The formation shook. This brief tremor pulled Zhou out of his thoughts and back into reality. He looked up at Golden Court Mountain's formation. The barrier was lighting up. He continued to channel his primal chi at full force into it. Due to the 9-leaf stage, the formation was being repaired at an alarmingly fast speed. Inside the Cave of Reflection, Wuya was awakened by this huge commotion. He rushed to the mouth of the cave before his path was blocked by something. He was flustered by the cacophonous sounds of battle and the flashes of light that meant the evil sky pavilion was under threat. Bam! He lost count of the times he rammed into the Cave of Reflection's barrier. He had to get out, locate Pan Zhong, and restore his cultivation base. Master, oh, Master. You're a stubborn, old. Bam. Wuya staggered out of the barrier. He did not break the barrier with his strength. It was due to violent tremors from Golden Court Mountain's formation. The powerful fluctuations had affected the Cave of Reflection's formation. It was as if the entire mechanism was rebooted. The instant it rebooted, the barrier vanished. After a moment, the barrier reappeared. Wuya turned around to look, perplexed. He did not have the time to think about the reason behind this. He hastily got to his feet and sprinted into the forest behind the forest. I'm the only one who can save the evil sky pavilion. Wuya had barely made it out of the back of the mountain when the darkened skies suddenly lit up. It was as though dawn had arrived. The entire Golden Court Mountain, the back of the mountain, the Cave of Reflection, the evil sky pavilion, the forest, and mountain ranges nearby were illuminated. Golden Court Mountain's barrier had been restored. Wuya stood riveted on the spot. He was awestruck. What's happening? What happened to Golden Court Mountain? Under normal circumstances, it would take 5 Divine Court Realm cultivators decades to mend the formation. It would take nascent Divinity Realm elites years if they worked at it every day. Even 8-leaf elites needed about 6 months if they worked at full strength. Why did the barrier suddenly appear, fully mended? Wuya walked out of the forest. He looked up and saw a huge avatar towering above the evil sky pavilion. It shone with a dazzling golden radiance. Under the avatar, a golden lotus was spinning slowly. 9 leaves spun with the lotus. Wuya stumbled back in shock. Every time one of the 9 leaves pointed at him, he felt as though he was being slapped. He mocked himself inwardly, how foolish. My hubris has blinded me. I thought I was the only one who could save the evil sky pavilion. I even said Master is a stubborn old man. Wuya prided himself on his judgment and intelligence. However, at this moment, they seemed to be mercilessly shattered and trampled on by the 9 leaves. Wuya had a wide information network. He was also privy to the background of the 7 great sects and the weaknesses of the sect masters. According to his conceptual plan, he would arrange for the Darknet's core member, Yi Zhixing, to send the weaknesses of the 7 great sects to the evil sky pavilion. Perhaps, if his master changed his mind, he could be sent to negotiate with the 7 great sections. With information that could be used against them in his possession, the 7 great sects would certainly be repelled by Si Wuya's words alone. With Zhenghai and the Darknet supporting him outside, Si Wuya was confident that he could pull this off. When that time came, his master would surely regard him in a new light. However, now, it seemed like a joke. The greatest joke under the heavens. Si Wuya had, on several occasions, guessed that his master had already learned about the secrets of the 9-leaf stage. He had even spoken to his eldest senior brother about this. Unfortunately, both of them found it hard to believe that the truth had been ingrained in their minds, after all. If one were told the sun rose from the south, one would not believe it unless one witnessed it. Si Wuya looked at the huge avatar. Apart from the metaphorical sting he felt on his cheeks, he felt really embarrassed to the extent that he did not dare to show his face. Did a 9-leaf cultivator need help? In the face of absolute strength, plots and schemes were laughable. Whiz. The barrier was brightly lit at this moment. The Golden Court Mountains barrier and the avatar brightened up the night sky. The evil sky pavilion seemed to regain its former glory. Meanwhile, Zhou did not stop there. Instead, he kept channeling his primal chi. He kept hearing notifications about the rewards from instructing Si Wuya, but he had no time to deal with that. Zhou did not pay any attention to what was happening on the ground. Instead, he was fully focused on channeling his primal chi into the formation. He wondered, is the rascal working on those questions inside the cave of reflection again? Zhou needed the formation to be completely stabilized. After all, the power from the peak trial card would be wasted if it was not used. When the time limit was exceeded, all the extra primal chi he possessed would disappear. Si Wuya suddenly remembered something. Where are the people from the 7 great sects? He took a deep breath and ran toward the western side of the mountain. He stood up high as he looked down. To his delight, the radiance from Golden Court Mountain and the avatar lit up the forest. As far as his eye could see, there were signs of battles past. There were ditches left behind by countless energy swords, craters in the shapes of golden lotuses, and the bodies of the disciples from the 7 great sects strewn haphazardly across the land. It was a magnificent sight to behold. Si Wuya was in awe as he murmured, "Is this the power of the 9-leaf stage?" A mile from the valley. Mingxian regarded Feng Qinghe with slight surprise and said, "What do you know?" "I'll have to give it to you, you do have many tricks up your sleeves. The 7 great sects have now become your fodder." After his sea of qi was burnt, Feng Qinghe's expression changed as he said darkly, "You chose to turn away from the path of heaven and barge into hell." Mingxian gestured with a finger. He said with a straight face, "I'm so afraid." This infuriated Feng Qinghe. He wanted to tear Mingxian into pieces. There was a time limit after one sea of qi was burned. He no longer wasted words and lunged at Mingxian at lightning speed. Bam. 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 Hand seals rocked the air. Mingxian nimbly dodged the attacks. He jeered. "Faster, faster. You're injured, and it's slowing you down." Feng Qinghe's judgment was clouded by his rage. His attacks grew in ferocity and scale. Several rounds later, Mingxian was finally feeling the pressure. After all, how could he fight against such an elite with his current cultivation base? If Feng Qinghe were not heavily injured by his master earlier, he would not be so bold as to challenge Feng Qinghe. Boom. 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 Mingxian kept retreating into the forest. Swoosh. Feng Qinghe suddenly retreated as well. He scanned the forest before him and asked, "You deliberately led me here?" "You're smart." Mingxian nodded. "Alas, you're too green." Whiz. Feng Qinghe summoned his avatar. Due to his burnt sea of qi burnt, he had to deal with Mingxian in the shortest time possible. The longer this battle dragged on, the more unfavorable it would be for him. He originally had a 7-leaf cultivation base. It had, naturally, deteriorated after he burned more than half of his sea of qi. He was now only a 6-leaf cultivator, at most. If this had been any ordinary circumstance, it would have been easy for him to kill a 6-leaf cultivator. However, the current situation was unique. He had to go all out. It should be enough to deal with Mingshi. Feng Qinghe flattened his palms. Talisman scripts appeared and swirled before they shot toward Mingshi with his avatar. Amazing. I'll run. Mingshi was not stupid. He would not butt heads with Feng Qinghe. He tapped the ground lightly with his feet and leaped into the forest at lightning speed. The trees seemed to have come to life as they barred Feng Qinghe's way. Boom. A part of the forest was instantly flattened by the avatar and the talisman scripts. Feng Qinghe hovered in the air within his avatar and looked down. Mingshi voice reached him from afar, "Hey, over here." Under a huge tree to Feng Qinghe's left, Mingshi was gesturing toward him with a finger. Feng Qinghe wasted no words and shot 2 hand seals out from his palms. Then, he dove after the hand seals along with his avatar. Boom. 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 Feng Qinghe's attacks missed. Mingshi successfully dodged Feng Qinghe's attacks. If he could not beat Feng Qinghe, dodging was the best course of action. After some time, Feng Qinghe finally discovered something was amiss. He could not afford for this to drag on. He had never met anyone as cunning as Mingshi before. Feng Qinghe gauged his sea of qi. He brought out a stack of talismans from his pocket before he drew his index finger across them. His primal qi surged out and ignited the talismans. Then, he tossed them down. The forest caught fire in just an instant. When he saw the fire was not burning fiercely enough, Feng Qinghe repeated the move and tossed out more talismans. The talismans flew in different directions into the forest. Then, he climbed higher, feeling pleased. He looked down at the burning land, looking out for other elites who might be lurking in the vicinity. Wow. You got me. Mingshi was choking from the smoke. He immediately wrapped himself in energy and ran toward the valley. There were no trees and no fire there. It was as though he had turned into the wind. Running away? Die. Feng Qinghe joined his palms and tossed dozens of talismans out. The instant the talismans were ignited, formation veins seemed to appear in the air. It shone with a golden light before it transformed into talisman seals. The talisman seals were locked onto Mingshi. Feng Qinghe launched an all-out attack with his avatar as he charged toward Mingshi. Although he was only at the 6-leaf stage right now, his 70-foot-tall avatar was not something ordinary cultivators could hope to fight. His avatar buzzed, and he stomped his foot. Under the crushing difference between realms, tricks and schemes were meaningless. Boom. Feng Qinghe and his avatar landed. A round crater appeared under the golden lotus. He was convinced that his opponent had been flattened. He laughed heartily. A disciple of the evil sky pavilion? You should blame your rotten luck for your death. He had lost all the elegance fitting of a sect master. His words were also beginning to lose sense. After all, none of the 9 evil sky pavilion disciples had been killed by the noble path or anyone for that matter. Even Zhou Honggong, with his weak cultivation base, always managed to escape unscathed from perilous situations. He felt that the coordinated attack from the 7 great sects on Golden Court Mountain was the best chance they could ever get. Yet, his ambitions were mercilessly crushed by the 9-leaf villain. The achievement of killing an evil sky pavilion disciple served as a great motivation and source of comfort to him. He continued to laugh maniacally. Finally, he raised his hand and sealed his Dantian Sea of Qi again. Then, his avatar vanished. Boom. A loud crash resonated in the air as a figure shot out of the round crater. Feng Qinghe reeled back. Mingshi raised a hand. The separation hook was hovering above his palm. You're powerful indeed. So powerful that you made me use 1/3 of my strength. Feng Qinghe made an error in judgment. A frown could be seen on his face when he landed. He endured the pain and said through gritted teeth, "Ground escape technique? It's something I picked up. An insignificant skill, really." Mingshi slowly moved toward him.